Hi, my name's Heather. I'm one of the registered dietitians at Coatman in Vancouver, and today we'll be spending a few minutes discussing and exploring some whole grain options. So if you are new to the experience of whole grains by definition are actually when they are not refined. So they actually contain both the bran, the endosperm, and the germ component, which makes them really nutritionally complete. But we also have what's called pseudo grains. So although botanically they're not classified as grains, we eat them a lot like grains. So I'll kind of throw these into the video here as well. Really the whole point of these is to include more grain products into what we often classify in nutrition as kind of the 25% of our plate. And really here what we're looking at doing is adding in more fiber-rich foods. So just providing you here some examples today of options for whole grains to fill that 25% of your plate. So some of the benefits that I'm thinking of when I'm incorporating whole grains into the diet include things like nutritional values. They're really rich in B vitamins, which are energy producing vitamins. Some of our minerals like magnesium, zinc, and copper, as well as things like actually protein and iron, and then even antioxidants in some of our grain sources. The other reasons I'm going to be loving fiber-rich products are going to be that they help to stabilize our energy levels. So compared to the refined products, they cause less of a blood sugar spike, meaning that we have more energy for longer. They're also great for appetite control, and they're also just really delicious. So I love including them here into our diet. So I'm going to jump in here, starting with some of our ones that would be wheat containing. So if wheat is something you don't go for, I will jump into lots of those later in the video. So starting with our first one here is Farro. So Farro is kind of a little bit of a thicker grain, has a bit more of a nutty flavor and kind of a more robust texture to it as well. Farro is probably one of my favorite grains of all time. It's kind of my go-to grain. I was using it a lot in soups, but I'm also using it a lot actually just like I would with rice, kind of cooking it stovetop, having it on the side of my meal too. So that's Farro to start us off. And then I do have more options that are going to be wheat containing. That just happens to be the only one that I have in my house at the moment. So I'll jump into a little image here that shows you a couple of our wheat containing ones as well as some of their cook times to keep in mind. Jumping into some of our whole grain options that are going to be gluten-free. I will start out here with oats. Oats and oatmeal. You will want to check in this case, oatmeal typically is actually processed in a facility with gluten, so you would want to get a certified gluten-free oat. You'll notice actually this package is not certified gluten-free, but oats naturally are gluten-free. So just something to kind of consider as I run through the entire gluten-free section. You would always want to check that it's certified if that's something that's really important to you. So oats I think are a little bit more self-explanatory and more common. So I won't jump into these too much, but they are considered a whole grain. Some of our more exotic whole grains that I want to jump into here include Amaranth. It's actually a really small, fine-looking grain product here. I'm using this actually a lot as a salad topper. It can be a nice one here with the Amaranth. Also quite tasty. Another one that I have on hand is Sorghum, more of a circular type grain here. This one I always keep in mind has a longer cook time, but it's really delicious. I really like to enjoy this one with some chopped up herbs and just having it kind of as a traditional side dish, but the herbs really brighten the flavor of this sorghum. Another gluten-free option that I have on hand is millet. Millet, I'm kind of using in a mixture of things. I actually really like this one as a breakfast option, similar to swapping it out for something like oatmeal. Quite delicious in that kind of a realm. That's kind of my number one go-to use for millet, although you can use it other ways as well. And then kind of jumping back into some more of our traditional grains would be things like brown rice. So brown rice, another bit more fiber in it. Less common of the rice variety would be our black rice or wild rice. So I have black rice here on hand. You'll notice it's a little bit darker in color, but it's going to cook very similar to regular rice. Black rice I really love thrown onto salads. Adds a lot of really nice texture and flavor to the salads, but you can enjoy it the same way you enjoy rice as well. And then the last one here, which I'm running kind of low on, is quinoa. This one happens to be a tri-colored quinoa. Again, one that people are a little bit more familiar with. kind of boomed in the last few years, but another option for a gluten-free whole grain. Thank you so much for joining me as I run through all of these different whole grains. Hopefully that makes them a little less scary to grab off the shelf and buy, keeping in mind that so many of these cook just like you would cook rice, so really easy to throw them on a stovetop. They need varying amounts of time and water, but they do cook really quite simply. They're kind of something that you can just have in the background while you're making the rest of your meal. They're not tons of work to throw in. So I really hope you enjoy and get a chance to try out some of these different whole grains. Thanks for joining me.